The project is located 40 kilometers north of the main port city of Cotonou. Situated on 29 hectares of land, the project is a virtual replica of the Village of Peace in Dimona, Israel. There are 27 buildings on the site housing projects in the areas of agriculture, food production, holistic health, computer science, and language training, just to name a few. The guest house contains 12 all-suite rooms and also has a dining hall which can also function as a small conference facility. There are 6 dormitories on the site containing 14 rooms each, giving a total of 168 beds being made available for student housing. The construction team had to conceptualize and develop the complete civil engineering infrastructure for this Village of Peace. All of the sewage, electrical, and communication systems are implemented underground. An underground water reservoir tank has also been constructed to capture rainwater runoff. The runoff in this 100,000-liter reservoir tank is used to support the watering needs of landscaping on the site. The beauty of Sarah is the one place that both men and women can receive natural hair care, pedicure and manicure treatments, and massage and colonic therapy. The maintenance offices house the maintenance staff, which is responsible for maintaining the upkeep of the site. Also housed in this facility is a 250 kilovolt amp generator, which provides all of the power for the entire site. The Communication Center is the central location for management of all telecommunications, closed-circuit television distribution, and computer network management. The first floor houses special laboratories for language and computer science instruction. The auditorium is a multi-purpose facility capable of serving meals to 500 people at one time, or accommodating 1,000 people in a conference seating configuration. The conference center consists of 16 rooms capable of holding 25 students each. Each room has connections for closed-circuit television, telephone, and the internet. The research library is a fully functional electronic library ready to document and digitally archive all activities relative to the project occurring throughout the world. The tofu factory is capable of producing over 100 different soy and wheat-based products. And one of the most favorite products produced is delicious and economical soybean ice cream. The water tower holds 23 cubic meters of water. The tower primarily provides water pressure for plumbing on site. The dehydration factory provides dehydration and packaging services for produce grown on the site and for local farmers. The clinic is primarily a birthing center designed to provide prenatal and postnatal care for mothers and conception. Bioagriculture is one of the main components that affects every project on the site. All planting and farming methods are biblically based and use no chemical pesticides or fertilizers. No chemical pesticides or chemical fertilizers are used on the property. Through bioagricultural research done on the site, a completely natural organic pesticide made from neem oil has been developed. And the site also produces its own natural organic fertilizer. As a result of this research, it has been proven that natural, chemical-free bioagricultural farming can maintain and surpass produce yields of other projects that choose to use chemical pesticides and chemical fertilizers. And the most important point of all is that the food simply tastes much better. All land that is available for farming is used to its maximum capacity. An example of this is the use of the akuma bean plant in between tree crops. As the akuma bean vegetation spreads to cover the ground, it serves a dual purpose for the tree crops. It prevents soil erosion by protecting the topsoil from blowing away, and it keeps the moisture in the ground. Then, every few months, the bean vegetation is then turned over into the ground with a plow to provide nitrogen back into the soil. This is a completely chemical-free process that has a positive outcome on crop yields. Over 5,000 trees have been planted on the site, including coconut, avocado, papaya, Israel orange, Valencia, neem, banana, plantain, pineapple, and mango, just to name a few. There are 7 different varieties of papaya trees that have been planted from Benin, Thailand, and St. Croix.
The Restoration Village, the restoration of heaven on earth through the revitalization of the African village concept. The concepts of the restoration of the African village are born out of an African godly perspective. That is, they are not founded upon any particular religion, but rather from a definite set of principles, spiritual principles that are in harmony with God. These principles become the building blocks of life and the keys for the maintenance of the planet for the benefit of all living beings. I pray that they can form the starting point for a new beginning for Africa and our people by providing the inspiration for thinking in that direction. We should not see Africa as being underdeveloped, but as being miraculously preserved by God to become the center for producing sound leadership of the human family, providing the light for a new ecologically sound social order. Therefore, we are compelled to not only raise questions about the failed direction of the past, but also to chart the course for confronting the problems of today and inspire a new direction for the future. It has been my experience that the key to our success is in assuring that our objectives and the means for obtaining them reflect a commitment to remain in harmony with the laws of God. That means that our efforts are designed to prolong, maintain, and sustain the well-being of righteous man and the earth. Considering the magnitude and the comprehensive nature of the deception that has brought us to this point, we are well aware that to change is no minor undertaking. But we are not discouraged. We understand that except men inspired of God accept the challenge of forming a new world in harmony with God, life and living, it simply will not be. The decisions that confront us are, in most cases, not easy ones. They are the decisions that will determine if our future generations will have a place on the planet Earth. The work to be done now in Edenic, Africa, must build on revived African traditional values, lifestyles, and cultural patterns inherited as the Genesis ideal of a harmonious life with the Creator. That simply means the restoration of proper relationships between people, the forces of nature, and the spirit that conveys the Genesis idea, all of which will be cultivated in the restoration villages to reflect values arising out of a sincere desire to be one with the Creator. In such villages, morality, decency, and proper conduct are promoted by an extended network of Yah-fearing men and women. All wealth generated within the village will be communally shared according to agreed upon guidelines. Sustainable organic agriculture will be a major component of village industry, providing both food and fuel. All of the village's human, animal, and plant waste will be composted into organic matter for recycling back into the soil to promote and maintain its fertility. When considering the question of economic development and investment, we must be very selective of the types of products we desire to manufacture and make abundantly available to the populace. For essential industry, let us consider the areas of food, shelter, clothing, and institutions. Where food is concerned, we can easily supply our population with fresh fruit, vegetables, legumes, and whole grain throughout the year. In this area, the essential industries would include the milling of our grains, husking of our rice, etc. Reasonable mechanization would be required for the cleaning, sorting, and packaging of produce for shipping. And perhaps the canning or jarring of the few items not available throughout the year, but for which it has been determined that they are desired or required during the off-season. It should be the same in our building and clothing industries. We should seek to establish industry to complement and supply products wherefrom we become locally self-sufficient. The concern is that during the initial stages of development, we not steer far away from vertically integrated economic development, such as projects in which the success depends on no outside sources, just the mobility and energy of those the project seeks to serve. The village's health care will be promoted by their understanding of life management, or as what we will refer to as health literacy, life management principles, and reinforced by low-stress living, contentment, life-giving foods, and Yah-centered spirituality. Each village's healthcare center will bring medical services and information closer to the rural population, saving lives and alleviating suffering, the impact of which will be most immediately realized through facilitating simpler access to the village's birthing facility, which will mitigate or reduce to a minimum the problems that result from prenatal or childbirth-related causes. In addition, utilizing well-developed indigenous knowledge and truth science, harmonized with the Creator, will end all unnecessary suffering resulting from alien-imposed knowledge, worldviews, and clever but life-threatening technology. To achieve the objectives we are striving for, the principles, rhythms, vibrations, and cycles, set times of divine order must guide everything we do. Remember, the ends are not separate from the means. The process we use to accomplish something will characterize the result. We must encourage the restoration of faith to believe that another direction for science, a less destructive kind of technology, a fair system of labor and management, and a truly progressive development can be rediscovered, rekindled, and applied. We must believe that a different kind of social order and lifestyle can be developed, which is effective, comfortable, and satisfying. Science and technology, realigned with truth, will become much more elaborate and interesting in our pursuit of life. But its intrinsic nature will remain interconnected with the divine order of the creation, and subsequently far less prone to being exploited and put into the service of the forces of chaos, discord, and individualism. We acknowledge and verify that there is a divine order for man and the universe, which was initially breathed into Adam as his breath of life. In the Adamic African worldview, truth, science, and spirituality are unified in a system of knowledge that provides guidance for the Adamic civilization, how to protect, balance, enhance, and move in harmony with the earth's beauty. The objective of evil is to, in some way, convince you not to subordinate yourself to that order, and even that there are no consequences for failure to do so. The objective of our effort is to build modern communal villages throughout the interior that will serve as both model and training grounds for all men and women desiring to restore heaven on earth. I call it getting to heaven alive. Our indigenous local African family will provide the human resources, joined by those in the diaspora who are committed to the fulfillment of a similar vision for the restoration of the Adamic civilization. Africans of the diaspora would greatly benefit for the village during visits, vacations, and apprenticeships, being assisted in the casting off of the binding, blinding Western mentality and acclimatizing themselves to righteous living. Thereafter, they could join the village or proceed to build new ones. The truth is that in any African country where there is relative peace, I have found more genuine happiness than I have found among Africans vainly trying to fit into the cities of America and Europe. Among our brothers and sisters living in the diaspora, there is persistent anxiety and stress fueled by racism, socioeconomic inequality, and the nagging desire for more material wealth. On the contrary, life in our own land is made sacred by our family values and willingness to share. Continental Africans would also visit, vacation, and apprentice at these villages to learn skills and access bountiful internal resources that will facilitate their going back to their own villages and transforming them into vital, life-promoting places. Soon, if not already, the providing atmospheres conducive to clear and creative thinking will become the most sought-after service industry on the planet. More and more people are in search of and in need of a break from the trauma of trying to survive in an anti-life environment. I am speaking of much more than a resort or retreat in the traditional sense. It is recommended that we build an ecologically compatible spiritual advance. Note, not retreat, spiritual advance, where people may come to rest and think. A 7-star environment instead of a 5-star hotel. Those in control of this world need time to rethink the present trends and the policies responsible for them. They need a break from themselves. Africa should develop and promote spiritual advances where no animals or animal byproducts are served. There will be no stealing, no prostitutes or immodest dress, no negative television, lewd video, vulgar music, or provocative dancing. Properly developed, we can make the African Edenic environment the most desirable in the world. These advances would be spiritual sanctuaries, providing respite for peace of mind, body, and soul. Tenants would be invited to participate in the planting or harvesting of foods as a natural experience of the presence and power of God. There will be communal dining at least once a day and helpful recreation to reacquaint residents with the joy and energy that come from interacting with people of like mind. No alcoholic beverages other than naturally fermented wine will be available. In addition to comfortable accommodation, these beautiful, serene rooms will inspire prayer and meditation. Let us show the beauty of what we have as men return to the cradle of civilization for inspiration to return to the Genesis idea as we share with them a new beginning. The Restoration Village is not what is commonly recommended for or thought of as African development, for the primary reasons of being focused on the rural areas and creator-centered. The early stages of developing the Restoration Village, the government or local authorities should grant the use of the land without rent and with reasonable assurances of indefinite tenure. In exchange, the land would be made productive and the people of the surrounding areas would draw on it as a resource for learning how to transform their villages and lands into productive, self-sufficient societies. These living and learning centers would show by example how to live successfully without massive expenditures, which are usually beyond the means of overburdened national budgets. Everyone who comes to learn at the Restoration Villages will return to where they live and strive to replicate the whole model. Or they may only take back with them certain skills and aspects that could help them in their current context. In addition, the Restoration Village will be a major benefit for farming techniques and basic agri-technology skills that will boost food production and human resource productivity of the community and the nation in ways coinciding with the objectives of African governance. The objective of the Restoration Village vision is to make a success out of what we Africans have and control. Africa's greatest wealth is its human resources. We must protect them, develop them, and structure production to reflect their needs. With proper planning and excessive income over consumption expenditures will result from growing our own food, making our own clothing, and providing other necessities of daily life directly with our labors. Income will also be generated by marketing produce and products and the establishment of service industries and apprenticeships. Villages will build physical strength as nutrition improves and moral moral strength to effectively challenge and overcome lust and greed. Key components of the village restoration plan are: 1. To promote research and development of the underutilized reservoir of indigenous knowledge, systems, science, and technologies, methods for the restoration of sustainable and viable African communities. Indigenous Pharmacological Science, IPS. IPS will provide the basis for sustainable development and expansion of natural plant-based preparations for treatment and eradication of sickness and disease. In addition, IPS will be instrumental in synthesizing herbal plant nutritional supplements. Indigenous agri-systems will be instrumental in reintroducing a variety of highly nutritional, ecological, adaptable, and high-yielding indigenous food crops. These food crops could play a key role in ameliorating the problem of hunger, malnutrition, and food security. Indigenous nutritional science should be developed and expanded in conjunction with indigenous agri-systems. The interfacing of these two systems will result in the creation of food products and beverages of exceptional nutritional value. These products will aid in the correction and prevention of nutritional deficiencies prevalent in many African countries. 2. To function as research centers and seed repositories. Seeds will be saved, replanted, and developed. In addition, the villages are to serve as living laboratories to rediscover, test, and develop native and ancient species and varieties of food, fiber, and healing crops, and thereafter teach how they can best be reintroduced into the current context. Growing native species of crops is extremely important for maintaining biodiversity, which benefits the soil, natural ecology, and agricultural productivity. The native crops are diverse, strong, drought-resistant, have medicinal uses, and carry with them a wealth of knowledge. To research indigenous African botanical science and develop biophyto-derived formulations from indigenous African flora. These preparations will be used to control, prevent crop diseases and pests. There are an abundance of tree plants, neem, papaya, that when properly formulated are highly effective controls for use in agriculture. 4. To expand water harvesting, purification, and sanitation methods. The accessibility of clean and adequate water resources is key to productive, health, and sustainable African communities. Therefore, we must devise practical ways and means to develop water collection and water storage systems. Simple collection systems for harvesting rainwater runoff, home storage water systems, underground village storage tanks, and manually constructed catchment ponds are encouraging examples of what can be constructed using locally available resources. Purification and sanitizing of water can be accomplished by using biophytocoagulants and disinfectants. Specific indigenous plants, trees, have properties which remove impurities from water and sanitize, disinfect drinking supplies. The seeds of the African moringa tree is a noted example. Therefore, we will draw focused attention on researching and developing this area. Solar water disinfection, slow sand and gravel filtration are additional means to purify and disinfect water for potable use. 5. To promote soil fertility via the utilization of ancient practices. Since man is formed from the dust of the earth, the soil will be of significant importance. The wisdom of the Bible reminds us that the land must lie fallow every 7th year to preserve its strength. This practice obviously influences life, living, and good health. Subsequently, it is of critical importance how we feed and treat the soil during the 6 years of use. A key component of maintaining the health of the soil during the years that it is being worked is returning to it the nutrients that it yields and which subsequently pass through our bodies. These must ultimately be returned to the soil in the form of compost, along with other organic matter. 6. To function around divine order and an Afrocentric value system, we will utilize truth-centered science and indigenous knowledge systems. Also, other technologies and methods that are compatible with the objective. The villages will become known as living and learning centers that pursue holistic research and utilize methods of teaching integrated with daily life, an antithesis of chaos, discord, disharmony. Instead of individualism, there will be a natural social ecology. One of the major objectives is to halt the advance of sickness and death in the country and thereafter provide light for the entire continent. 7. To integrate tree husbandry for food and fuel is a key component of the village restoration plan. Again, I go to the Bible, the book of Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter, and the 19th verse.
When thou shalt besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down. For the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege.
We may discern from this verse that the tree, complemented by the field crops, herbs of the field, was intended to be the primary source of man's food. Man has long forgotten that the tree is the staff of life, not wheat. It was the fall of man from the Genesis ideal that caused him to resort to animal husbandry. Prior to his fall, human life was primarily sustained by the tree. Thus, it is not coincidental that a major focus and thrust of our ecological struggle concerns trees. Our struggle for the trees is our struggle for the life of man on the planet. Just as the tree was an integral part of the former Genesis, so must it be in our new ecological Genesis. Foods grown on trees provide protein, essential amino acids, milk for children and adults, and all other vitamins and minerals required to maintain a perfectly healthy body and mind. In addition to that, they increase the oxygen content of the air, reduce greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, draw the rain, and prevent soil erosion, while requiring less fertilizer, if at all, and minimal care. In addition, trees will yield their produce for generations. Therefore, we should strengthen existing tree husbandry by planting 1,000 acres of various selected trees for food and fuel. To coincide with this planting, we should sponsor a comprehensive course on trees, the staff of life. This will have many benefits and positive ramifications that shall positively enhance the ecological process. For instance, it can eventually change the status of animal husbandry, which consumes the majority of the grains grown and water used. We also note that the leaves of the tree are to be used for medicine for the air, for the soil, and for man.
And by the river upon its bank, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for food, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall its fruit be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to its months, because their waters issued out of the sanctuary, and its fruit shall be for food, and its leaf for medicine.
And in closing, to all of you, the fate of an individual or a nation will always be determined by the degree of his or its harmony with the forces and laws of nature. And never forget that. Allow me to repeat that. The fate of an individual or a nation will always be determined by the degree of his or its harmony with the forces and laws of nature. The fullness of life depends upon a harmonious relationship with the natural laws. You must feel your kinship with the earth and once again move to protect it from abuse. You must develop a sense of oneness with your environment and realize your dependence upon it. Thereafter, your growing respect for the earth will prevent and check further its destruction. Selah.